Hey everybody, I wanted to do sort of a follow-up video to my video on the election and just talk about some human behavior that I've seen in a lot of people that I know and a lot of people that I'm close to, a lot of people I love and a lot of people that I respect. I have seen a whole lot of people who will post things on Facebook regularly like love is the answer and post these quotes from people like Gandhi and great compassionate leaders and social influencers throughout history. I've seen a lot of those sorts of people post things on the internet saying things like, I can't believe Donald Trump won. If you voted for him, you're a racist, you're a bigot. Here's an article about how everyone who voted for Donald Trump is just an idiot and hates everybody who's not exactly like them. And then I've seen a whole bunch of videos from friends of mine, a lot of them Christians, posting things saying it's awesome, Donald Trump won, and now those losers will have to deal with Trump for the next 4 years or the next 8 years, and if you didn't vote for Trump, you're a loser, and that's why you're upset, you just suck. And basically, I've been seeing a whole lot of that, a whole lot of things from people who claim to believe in love and claim to believe in tolerance and respect and peace, just basically posting stuff out there as though everyone out there shares the same view. And anyone who doesn't share the same view as you is just an idiot and a moron and a fool. And what I just wanted to share and maybe humbly remind us of is that if you consider yourself a person of love, if you consider yourself a person of respect, a person of honor, a person of tolerance, none of those things are proven by how you get along with people who think and agree with you. None of those things are proven by how you treat people who think the same way you do and who hold the exact same views as you. Whether or not you're a person of love and respect and honor and tolerance is proven by how you get along with, how you treat people who don't share the same view as you, how you talk about them, how you interact with them. And so what I see is just a whole lot of behavior on social media proving that a whole lot of us who say we're people of love and respect and tolerance are really just full of it, because as soon as we come up against somebody who doesn't share our same views, we lash out at them and we treat them hatefully and we reduce them. This is the big point. We reduce them to names and labels. So they're not people anymore. They're idiots. They're libtards. They're racists. They're bigots. They're xenophobes. They're morons. They're uneducated. They're buffoons. And we just reduce everybody down to names and labels, and we forget that people are three-dimensional beings. People have experiences. People have educations. People have had things happen in their past that have shaped who they are today. And when you just dismiss someone with a label or a name, you're reducing them to something less than human. It's one of the least loving things you can do. And I want to share two really dangerous things that can result from reducing other people, whoever they are, to names and labels. The first thing is something that's getting a lot of press right now called the effect of the echo chamber. It's really another term for confirmation bias. Confirmation bias simply means that whenever you read or hear something that reinforces a view you already hold, you are disproportionately more likely to believe it's true because you want to believe it true because it's reinforcing a view you already hold. And this is what's happened with the echo chamber effect. The idea is that you're yelling into a cave, "This is my opinion," and you hear your own echo back. You don't realize it's just your own echo, and you go, "See? Every intelligent person, all the people in the cave all agree with me," when you're really just hearing your own voice back. And so in this social media age, what we've done is we've just removed anybody who doesn't share our worldview from our social life. So if you have a different political view to me and you're on Facebook, I'm probably just going to unfriend you because I don't want to deal with anybody who doesn't share my worldview. And that is so dangerous. It's making people so disposable, and it makes us unable to critically think about new ideas because we don't value people, and so we don't ask people, what is it about your life and your experience that has caused you to see the world this way? We just go, oh, there's a clear explanation. You're an idiot. That's the only explanation. That's such a degrading way to treat another human being. Such a degrading way. The second great danger is that reducing people to names and labels is one of the first steps towards doing horrendous things and committing atrocities. One of the things that that fascinated me the most about World War II is just the question of how do normal people in Germany who have been living with Jews for decades, how do they wake up one day and suddenly be okay with people who've been their neighbors being carted off to be murdered and killed in concentration camps? How does that happen? How does genocide happen in countries where you have people living next to each other and the next day they're okay with committing atrocities against each other? Well, one of the ways that happens is by reducing people to names and labels. The Jews were no longer Fred and Jean who lived down the street. They were dirty Jews. They were thieves. They were shifty. And they begin to replace real people with names and labels. And it's far easier to abuse and call for atrocities against names and labels. We see hints of this already. And I'm not making a point about the issue, but I'm making this point. When you hear people say things like, anyone who disagrees with climate change should be thrown in jail, man, be careful. Be careful. That's the kind of thinking that says anyone that doesn't share my worldview should just be gotten rid of. That's the kind of thinking that leads to genocide and leads to things like the Holocaust. As far off as it can seem, that's where it starts. You've got to reduce people from being three-dimensional human beings with a heart and a soul and a mind and just turn them into a name, just turn them into a label and make them disposable. That's incredibly, incredibly dangerous. And so I want to suggest one sort of practical step for this. This is something I've noticed on social media. There are so many media sources out there right now that talk with a radical tone. And I mean this, whatever side of the political spectrum you're on, you can find media sources that talk about the view that you have of the world with a radical tone. But here's the dangerous thing they do. They talk about anyone who doesn't share that view as though they are evil or an idiot, and they disparage the people who don't share that view in some way. You guys know what I'm talking about. We eat this stuff up because it's the same view we have, but in an intensified, radicalized tone. And so we hear it and we're like, yeah, that's what I'd love to say to people who don't agree with me. And then we start posting that stuff on Facebook as though we don't care at all if anybody doesn't share that view. If they're offended, who cares? They're just an idiot. I don't want them in my life anyway. It's an unbelievably intolerant way to behave and to view the world. And so I want to challenge you, if you are following any political source, be it liberal or conservative, environmental or anti-environmental, whatever it might be, if you're following any media source that demonizes people who don't hold that view, that reduces them to names and labels and helps you to think of people who don't share your worldview as somehow less than you or idiots or fools, I want to encourage you to get those media sources out of your life. Just unfollow them. Get rid of them completely. I've been purging that stuff from my Facebook account and purging, honestly, people who post that stuff all the time. And the reason is I don't want any of that stuff in my life. And I'm going to tell you why. I'm a follower of Jesus, and Jesus said something incredibly profound in one of his most famous sermons called the Sermon on the Mount. Jesus said this. He said, "You've heard it said, do not commit murder. But I say to you, he who hates a man in his own heart has already committed murder." And what Jesus is saying, he's saying, if you take the violent, horrendous act of murder and you trace it all the way back to the heart where it began with hate towards another person. And so Jesus is saying, hey, listen, when you hate another person, you've literally taken the first step toward murder, because that's how serious hate is. And Jesus was saying there is no room for hate anywhere in your heart toward anybody. It's one of the most radical things about the teachings of Jesus. Jesus doesn't say, okay, but you can hate the people who are really bad or really evil. He doesn't give any exceptions. He just says you've got to keep hate out of your heart, because the issue is, even if you tell yourself, well, I'm only hating people who are stupid. I'm only hating people who are wrong, who are racist. I'm only hating those people. It's just a different side of the same coin. The hate that you have, that emotion, is the same hate that the racist has, that the bigot has, that the xenophobe has. It's the same thing. It's a different side of the same coin. The issue is hate. You can be passionate about an issue. You can care about justice. You can have a worldview, but you don't need to reduce any other person to a name or a label in order to hold that view. You can passionately argue for your view without demonizing other people. The Bible teaches and Jesus teaches that people have incredible value, whoever they are, that the soul of a person lives forever, and every person has immeasurable value. And so I want to encourage you to treat every person as the valuable human being they are, even if they don't share your worldview, even if they have different opinions to you, even if they voted differently than you did or how you would have. They're a person, and if you're going to be a person of love for real, if you're going to be a person of respect for real, if you're going to be a person of honor and tolerance for real, then you have to treat those who are different to you and disagree with you with love, with respect, with honor, and with kindness. And so I'm not calling you out, I'm calling you up. I want to call you up to a higher level of love and respect for your fellow man, your fellow woman, because we've not been doing a great job of honoring each other and treating each other well. And so I think we need to rediscover how to love one another well. And I hope you'll take me up on that challenge. I hope you'll join me in pursuing that. Man, God bless you. If you ever want to chat, I'm available. Would love to talk with you about stuff like this. Have a great week, guys.